Hello, this is the angle relationships with parallel lines and the transversal practice session. The parallel lines here are here and here. These are parallel. I can indicate they're parallel by drawing like a little arrow like this, and that means they're parallel. Okay? So you understand that these are parallel, even though they're not perfect. I hand drew them. These lines go on forever and do not touch. These two lines right here. Let's call these lines line R and line S. Okay, give our lines a name. Then we have this transversal line, which is the line right here. See, without this transversal line, we don't have anything. See two parallel lines like this? If I just draw two parallel lines over here in the corner, there aren't any angles here. No angles here. But once you draw a transversal line through them, any which way, like this or like this, once you draw a transversal line through it, as I did here, you then create 8, count them, 8 angles. And there's several relationships, several words that we use to talk about all the various relationships between these angles. A lot of names, a lot of vocabulary in this section. So take good notes. The question here is, what kind of angles are angle 2 and angle 3? Angle 2 and angle 3 are called vertical angles because they're vertically across from each other. So vertical angles kind of make like this V shape, as you can see here. I'll trace it. This to this, they're vertically opposite each other. These are vertical angles. One thing you should know is vertical angles are congruent. So a little note you should make is vertical angles are congruent, meaning equal sign, little squiggle on top. That means congruent. It means they're equal in geometry. That's the way we indicate equal in geometry. So vertical angles are equal, meaning if this angle 2 is, let's pretend it's 60 degrees. Let's just pretend it's 60. That means angle 3 is also 60 degrees. Because they're vertical. Vertical angles are equal. I bet you could find some more vertical angles in this picture. Angle 1 and angle 4 are also vertical angles. Vertically opposite each other, they're going to be equal as well. And let's say, actually I'm not going to make this up because I know I can't make this up. If this is 60, then all of this, one side, must be, fill in the blank. If this is angle 60, then this entire side must be 180, all this together. So we know that this has to be 120, because 120 plus 60 is 180. And learning from the previous nomia about supplementary angles, you know that angle 1 and 2 are supplementary, because altogether they make 180. You could even say that angles 1 and 3 are supplementary. 1 is 120, 3 is 60. Angle 1 and 3 are supplementary. Let's go back to vertical angles for a second here. So angle 1 and angle 4 are vertical angles, vertically opposite each other. So they're equal in value, 120. Okay, so this angle right here is also, this one right here is 120, vertically opposite each other. Vertical angles are congruent, it checks out, as well as look at angle 3 and 4. This entire side put together, 60 plus 120 is 180. So 3 and 4 are supplementary. So a lot of vocabulary in geometry. 3 and 4 are supplementary. 2 and 4 are also supplementary because 60 and 120 is 180. Supplementary angles make 180. Vertical angles are equal. Let's move on. Okay, so I'm going to save myself some writing here on this question. I'm going to just ask you the two green angles. What type of angles are 6 and 7 in green? And your answer should be angle 6 and angle 7. I guess I'm writing anyway. Angle 6 and angle 7 are vertical angles. You learned that in the previous question. I just put it down at the bottom. Same thing applies down here. These are vertical as well. If you know these are vertical, you know they're equal in value. So 6 and 7, whatever whatever measure this angle is, this opening, however many degrees that is, it's the same thing over here. Vertically opposite are congruent. Congruent, written like this, means equal to each other in terms of geometry. That's the way we indicate it, congruent. So if angle 6 is 50 degrees, 50 degrees, then angle 7 is 50 degrees. Knowing that information, you should be able to tell me now the measure of angle 8. So what is the measure of angle 8? Angle 8 equals, well, you know that 7 and 8 are supplementary because they're on one side of this line. So 7 and 8 make 180 degrees. Therefore, 8 must be 130. 130 plus 50 is 180, and supplementary angles always sum or add up to be 180. If angle 8 is 130, if angle 8 is 130, that means angle 5 is also 130 because 8 and 5 are vertical angles. 8 and 5, vertical angles. You can see it looks like it makes a circle here. How many degrees are in a circle? 360. Oop, I made a mistake there. Catch that. That should be 130. I got a little carried away. 130, there we go. Sorry, so this circle, 30, 50, 50, 130, makes it 360. So on any one side of a line, you have 180, and 180 altogether. This makes 360. Okay, for this one, let's have you figure out what are angles 2 and angle 6. If you've watched the tutorials, you know angle 2 and angle 6 are a specific type of angle. There's a name we give 2 and 6. 2 and 6 are called corresponding. C-O-R-R-E-S-P-O-N-D-I-N-G. Corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are congruent. They are congruent, means they're equal in value. So it's good to know. Therefore, if angle 2 is 45 degrees, that means angle 6 is also 45 degrees. Corresponding angles are congruent, as I indicated right here with that symbol. Now, those aren't the only corresponding angles. Corresponding just means they're in the same position on the same side of the transversal. This is the transversal right here. That's called a transversal line. Corresponding means they're on the same side as they are right here. 2 and 6 are on the same side in the same position. So this little acute angle here is the same position as this one down here. Same position, same side of the transversal line. What else is corresponding here? There's a whole bunch. Angle 4, oh gosh, let me fix that. Angle 4 corresponds to angle 8. So angle 4 and 8 are also going to be congruent. Can you figure out the measure of angle 4 already knowing what angle 2 is? Of course you can. This line on this side is made up of 180 degrees. They're supplementary angles. 2 and 4 are supplementary. So if this is 45, then this has to be 180 minus 45. And 180 minus 45 is 135. This angle here, angle 4, which you can barely see now, is 135 degrees. It's a 135. Okay, 135 there. And angle 4, you can barely see. This angle here corresponds to angle 8. Therefore, they are congruent. So angle 8 is also 135 degrees. There are still more corresponding angles here. Let's go through this. Angle 1 on this side of the transversal, angle 1 corresponds to angle 5. They're going to be equal as well. Angle 3 corresponds to angle 7. Now, learning what you just learned in the previous two questions about vertical angles, angle 4, which you can barely see, right here. Angle 4 and angle 1 are what type of angles? 1 and 4 are called vertical angles. Therefore, they're congruent. So angle 1 is also going to be 135 degrees. Okay, let's think now. Angle 1 corresponds to which angle? Angle 1 corresponds to angle 5. So 1 and 5 are congruent because they are called corresponding. So far, so good. We're down to naming the last two angles here, 3 and 7. Now, a couple things you can do here. I can say that angle 3 corresponds to angle 7. And we know that angle 3 and 7 are congruent because they're corresponding. We know that angle, let's take a look up here, angle 2 is 45. Angle 3 must be 45 because 2 and 3 are vertical angles, and vertical angles are congruent. So this is also going to be 45. And angle 3 and 7 here are both 45 because they're corresponding. And notice here, anytime you do a transversal, this applies to all transversals, and to all parallel lines. The 8 angles, you'll only have 2 degrees. It's either going to be one number or the other. So you can see your choices here are very simple, which makes it easy to guess on a test, I guess. But you're going to have 1 or 2 choices. So these are vertical here. These are supplementary here. 45 and 45 correspond. 45 and 45 correspond. So you can always see there's not going to be like 3 numbers. It'll all be 2. Okay, so I'm running short on time in this practice session. I'm going to end it at question 4, trying to make this simple and not trying to talk too much in this one. Could you tell me what are angles, here I'll do it in blue. No numbers here. This angle here and this angle here. The answer to those two are corresponding. Could you name me other corresponding angles? I think you could. Those are corresponding in blue. These are corresponding in orange. Other corresponding angles. This and this corresponds. Are there any more corresponding? Yes. This angle here corresponds to this angle here. Okay? And from there, once you've got some numbers written down, you could do vertical angles as well to figure out things. You know that this angle here, oops, let's not use green. You know that this angle here, is vertical to this angle here. So these two angles will be congruent. As well as this angle is vertical to this angle, so they're going to be congruent as well. So not only are the corresponding angles congruent, but the vertical angles are congruent as well. Okay, in the next practice session, we'll talk about alternate exterior, alternate interiors coming up next, and we'll talk about consecutive interior as well.